It's time for this week's episode of Brandon Sports Talk, featuring in-depth interviews from those who are trending in the world of athletics. And now, here's the host of Brandon Sports Talk, Brandon Pate.
Welcome back to Brandon Sports Talk. In today's episode, I have the privilege to interview Jaylnn Nash, who is a sports photographer. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing good. Can you talk about how you knew that you wanted to get into sports photography?
Yeah. So honestly, I've always wanted to be a full-time photographer, but when I was younger, I wanted to figure out a way how to be kind of full-time photographer, but without doing weddings all the time. Weddings are nice, but they are stressful. And ironically, a lot of people say it was kind of like fell into their lap, but it did. The paths kind of crossed and fit, and I got the internships and all of that. That kind of helped along the way. So just being able to be a full-time photographer. I do shoot brands and lifestyle as well, but obviously the main thing is sports. So.
How did you know that you wanted to get into the sports and work with like teams?
When I first had like the introduction to it, I knew that it was going to be. I knew that I really, really liked it, and I loved how fast-paced it was, and I loved. For me personally, it's minimal editing unless I want to do something super fancy, but I loved just how fast-paced it was. I loved working together. I did like sports. You get the best seat in the house, but also be a part of creating those memories. And I've always wanted to be the person behind who created the memory for that.
What was your internship like with the Minnesota Timberwolves?
Yeah, so I was with the Minnesota Timberwolves and the Lynx. And I was with the Lynx for their winning season in 2013, 2015. I was there for a few years, but it was a lot of fun. It's kind of funny. I do judge how many years that I've been in the pro sports world. I was really young. I was 19 when I started that internship, but I judge it with Andrew Wiggins and how long he's been in the NBA because we all started at the same time, the same year. So it was really cool. It was kind of funny. Most people, they start with a college internship and then they do pro sports, but I started in pro sports, which is pretty rare, but very thankful for it. And I met amazing people and I still talk to them today. So it was really cool being around those people. I'm a very small person too, and they're very, very large and tall. So it was a good welcome. And I still, like I said, I still talk to the people who I was interns for at this day.
When you were an intern with, of course, the Minnesota teams, what was your feeling like going into your first game?
I was super nervous and I still get nervous to this day. It's super funny, I was used to being on stage and performing and being in dance my entire life and musical theater and stuff like that. And I was so used to it, but I still get nervous when there's a lot of crowds and a lot of people, even though I'm not the star, but I am like running around doing stuff. I like to pretend that they don't notice me, but I do know that I do get noticed. But it was nerve-wracking, especially when you were younger, because I'm 19 and I'm right next to like Kevin Love and LeBron James. And, those are the people that people talk about all the time. And I am from South Dakota where we don't have pro sports. So it's just kind of like a crazy dream with the NBA and then WNBA. But then also like when I would do the Wild, and it's the state of hockey. So the hockey is huge there. And then now I shoot for Bauer too. And I've always wanted to shoot for them since I was 19. And like that's a huge hockey brand. So it's been surreal. And it was surreal. It was scary walking in.
What was your time like shooting the U.S. Baseball?
Yeah, so when I was with USA Baseball, there's also the Olympic team, and then there's a bunch of other teams that make up it, basically the younger guys. It was a lot of fun. Some of the coolest memories I have right now is that some of those guys are now seniors in college, which do make me feel old, but also I was really young when I was director of digital media over at USA Baseball. And so them being seniors, it's actually not that bad. But I am 26 now, but yeah, I've gotten to see them go throughout the process and be a part of those kids' lives. And now they're in the pros. And obviously, it's like the developmental, fundamental stuff for the pros. And they do feed a lot of teams. So it's really cool to be a part of and be there from the beginning for those kids.
What was your experience like while shooting for the Minnesota Hockey Magazine?
Minnesota Hockey Magazine, it's different. So every outlet is different. Every outlet requires different things, different edits, different captions, and or how to send your images or what they need. So it was really good introduction, especially to start working with sports because they really, really helped me. I learned a lot from them as well. I learned a lot from everybody in Minnesota, and I still am very thankful and talk to them. But it was a good, more fundamentals. I did 2 games, and then they put me in the pros right away. So I did like 2 youth games, and then I was in the pros, and then I went back and did college. But they helped nurture me and take care of me and teach me. And it was different shooting for a magazine versus shooting for like a news outlet or a team. So everything was different. It was good to have that balance.
What was it like whenever you got your first photo inside the magazine?
Yeah, so I was 23 when I got my first feature that I know of. I actually could have gotten it sooner. I just don't know. But that was when I saw it on ESPN, and then Sports Illustrated, and then like magazines and stuff. It's still to this day, it's still shocking. Even with like the mural at the RDU airport that they had, and billboards, and parents' masks now. Masks is a big deal. And then just like rally towels and T-shirts. It's still to this day, even like it was when I first saw it. It's still insane, and very thankful to add that to my portfolio and be a part of some murals that are still up and that make history. So it was really shocking, and I'm really young, or I was really young, and I guess I still am pretty young, the people I'm surrounded by. So it was really cool to make that like goal that I didn't know existed or was a possibility. So
Now that you're in North Carolina, can you talk about, of course, covering it for the Carolina Hurricanes?
yeah, they're amazing. So I do cover for them from time to time, and then I shoot for other clients where sometimes the Canes have access to my stuff and opposing teams. So opposing teams have used my stuff too. But shooting for Canes, I've always wanted to shoot for a pro team. It was just like a goal that I had along with, the many different contracts. And so that was in 2019. They went to the playoffs and I was a part of that. And it was insane and so awesome. And I was 24 at the time. So, which is really young, and you're shooting for a giant, for like a NHL team, which was insane. But that's where like the murals and the marketing material and just everything, it really, really pushed me. And to this day, I even shot for them just last week or the week before, and I still get to try all these different stuff and push and try and do my best, because every day it's different, and every time they want something different too. So it's been a dream. I even worked with them during the pandemic too. So we had some stuff that was kind of non-hockey related, but hockey related with coach, and it was really cool that they asked me. So it's been a dream. I'm very thankful.
Can you talk about, of course, the difference between shooting like a basketball or football game where it's like open space versus hockey where you only have that small little cube where you can put your
Yeah.
lens in?
Yeah. So with like hockey, we obviously have that little hole that we can shoot in, and sometimes you can shoot through the glass. Obviously, right now, pandemic wise, a lot of more people are shooting through the glass, and not like the best because it is there's a lot of noise, and like it's multiple layers that you're trying to shoot through, multiple glass, but you do what you can. But yeah, shooting through that little hole, you kind of are a little bit limited, but you just have to think outside the box with that. Like you're not limited to that hole. Like there's so many other things happening around you and beside you. And that's where it comes into play with basketball and football, where basketball, normally pre-pandemic, you would have your own little spot, little square on the ground, and like you can't really move. But right now, because I'm thankful again, so I've kind of been like the only one, so I've been allowed to move around and move wherever I want because I'm the only one there, and that's the same for football. So it's really cool because you get to try different angles, you do get to move around, and it's open air. So you're also got to be super careful because they're right there and they can run right to you, but you hear and see everything. And then you just got to remember like there's fans right next to you or behind you, depending on what state you're in. So that's another thing. And then there's weather conditions with football. So many different parts that come into play. And then it's also many different on how you send your images when you send them, either at halves, at quarters, at periods. So
Speaking about quarters, halves, can you talk about that process of sending and what happens behind the scenes?
yeah, like I said, it's different for many different clients. But a lot of them generalize what is the same as that you would send it either at the half or at the period. But really, we actually leave like three three minutes prior to the end of the period because we're all running back there because we need to send the images kind of before the half even starts. So then all these news outlets or the teams or anything of that action happens, they have it right away. So our stressful moment is actually just before the half because we're running back or before the periods. And then for baseball, like in between the innings, but we're running back trying to get all that edited. And what you do is like you take it in, you can edit the photo if you need to, but certain outlets, they want you to say who it is, what happened, what it is. So we have all these different codes that we put in, and it says the player, it says what happened, said what team, what location, what time, everything of that nature. But you also need to remember because you're the one typing it up. And then you quickly send those off. Sometimes when you're shoot directly for a pro team, you maybe may not have a runner, but sometimes they want stuff like right after something happens. So sometimes I have Wi-Fi on my camera now, and I can airdrop it and send to somebody and get all that done and get the editing done in that way too. But it's a lot of editing, coding, uploading before the game, and then we have to get back out there before like the period starts for the most part. So it's a lot. It's very fast.
Of course, during each half and stuff, do you have to delete your photos so you remember, hey, I might have sent these photos, but I didn't send these photos?
So we have there's a software that a lot of us use. I learned it back in the NBA, and then I did stuff with like the Twins and the Wild, and all those photographers. They did the same thing. They use the same software. So there's a software that we all use. It's not state secret. It's called Photo Mechanic. It's a faster processor, but you go through and you tag those photos. So you can color code them. You can put a little T check mark, tag them, and then it remembers everything. And then when you ingest all of that, all the photos are there and it says which ones you did, which one you didn't. It's all based on your file organization as well. And then even when you have to format that card, everything's already on your hard drive, already tagged and ready to go.
That's pretty
So,
amazing. What was
yeah.
your time like with the Carolina Panthers on the NFL?
So Carolina Panthers, when I cover them, it's usually for a media outlet. It might be for something else or some something else, but whenever I'm out there, and I only get to go out there a few times, I do live a little bit farther away from them. But during the pandemic, I didn't even think I would get a game, and I got a game, so I was so thankful. Um, but when I'm out there, it's really cool. It's really different. Actually, some of my friends got traded to the team, and they played for the Vikings, so that's like a double bonus for me at this point in time. Like it makes me so much like 10 times happier when I get to go there. But I do like going there. Mainly when you're there, most people don't know this, but for NFL, you're there 3 hours before the game even starts. So you're there 3 hours, you're running around, getting different stuff, getting full pictures, looking at the weather, hoping that it doesn't rain. And then you're running around, you're on the field with them. There's certain places obviously that we can't go, and everybody just kind of knows that, but we always talk about it anyway. Just because of cameras and then players in general. This is even pre-pandemic, but then during the pandemic, depending on who's on the field, it's kind of like the same thing. But you're out there getting the game, and football's fun. It's a lot of running, a lot of heavy lifting. I mean, sports photography is a lot of heavy lifting, but this is a lot of running because if a play happens down at the other end, you got to kind of watch the game and be positioned and know that you might have to run to the other end very, very fast to try and beat the players, which thankfully there's timeouts because then you just get to book it down to the other end. So, yeah.
Speaking about, you said you have friends that play for the Vikings. What is the process, of course, like, do you have to send all of your photos to your media outlet, but then do you get to like share the photos, let's say Jimmy, your friend, might be on the Vikings. Do you get to send him the photo that you might have took of him?
So, yeah, now they're with the Panthers, but they did play Vikings. But yeah, so it varies. There are some rules and regulations where you can't send to players or you can. It really depends on who you're shooting for. So if you're shooting for the team and a player asks for the photo, well, that was taken through the team. So you can give that. So if you're with the team, it's going to go to the player no matter what. Media outlet, it's a little different. It's Some media outlets have access to other media outlets, so they can go and get that photo for the player. So it really depends. There's just like legal stuff that you just have to watch out for. So, but most of my friends who play, they kind of already know that. So they know when they can get a photo from me and when they can't, but they know how to get that photo. That's the more important. How are they going to get that photo? So there's different ways around it, but just got to be with the legal stuff. So
What was it like covering your first NASCAR game? your first NASCAR race.
It's okay. It's okay. So I actually grew up with drag racing, and so I was already used to racing at that point in time, but I hadn't done NASCAR yet. I knew it was going to happen eventually. I was going to do NASCAR. But I went into it very blind. I mean, I do know racing, so that does put me a little bit at upper edge, but I didn't know anybody. I didn't know anybody's names. I didn't know sponsors. I didn't know anything. The other photographers were so helpful. They helped me there. And I told myself, like, maybe next time I get assigned this, maybe I should know a little more. Well, I got picked up by a client who shoots directly for like the sponsors, which is like the racers, but the racers are interchangeable. It's always you're shooting for the sponsor. I got picked up by a client who shoots directly for the sponsors, so I quickly learned who was who and what was what. But my first time, it was actually exactly how I expected it to be. It was a little different, um, really entertaining. And then, like I said, a bunch of photographers were there to help me. It's a lot of walking, a lot of hot days. Obviously, things are different in the pandemic, but it was a lot of fun and it was cool because I grew up with racing and we do have NASCAR hoods actually in our house. So my dad was loving every minute of it.
That's so
So
amazing. What were some
yeah,
of your favorite memories shooting for sports?
it's so hard. I've been doing it for 8+ years, so I'm really thankful. I definitely, it's just like a lot of different ones, so it's really hard to pick. But I would say shooting for a pro team, the Canes, at such a young age, like that was such an accomplished goal and a compliment. And I wanted to do that, and it was an awesome goal, and it's still thankful that they still use me. But then to add more to it was that there was that giant mural in the airport, and I'm not from here, so whenever my friends and family come to visit, like everybody had to walk by it. And obviously it got taken down because of pandemic and budgeting and stuff, but that which is common. But that was really awesome to play a part of, especially because my dad likes airplanes and stuff. So and flying, so that was super cool. And then I grew up with a little bit of flying in our family, and then the billboards added to it, and just everything just like piled on. And people have blankets made out of the rally towels, and those are my photo. Like I took that 2 days later, rally towels with my images were made. Like that was just insane to be a part of this entire process at such a really, really young age. And now I know way more. So and now I also do a lot more studio stuff. So seeing that in magazines and posters, it's just insane.
That's so
So
amazing. What are some of your
thank
future
you.
plans in sports photography?
I mean, I still have a ton of different goals. I'm just really open to whatever. Right now, the pandemic, it shut down a lot of things, that some things were open and some things were slowly trickling back. So it really just kind of depends on the movement of everything and how everything's going. I still have some goals, but honestly, would love to just, make it through. I'm just hoping some things kind of go a little bit back to normal and more things open up. So I have some goals, keeping to myself. Just saying, but I have some pretty fun goals, and I'm kind of just always open to any opportunity. If a team wants me, super, super interested in me, like I will move for the right reasons. So, but I do shoot some brands that are associated with sports, and I'm really enjoying that too. And I've been doing that for 8+ years as well. But just expanding, growing, trying to shoot for many different clients. So
That's amazing. What advice would you give upcoming
thank you.
future sports photographers looking to get into it, just like me and you?
What advice would I give?
Hmm.
I would give honest. I would definitely say. I'm sure you would say the same thing. It's just connections, networking, knowing people using those, along with continuing to grow and get better, and just shoot different angles, try different things, but definitely using those connections and networking, because everywhere you go, every client you shoot, it does come in handy. And other people want to work with you. So
That's great advice. Where can my listeners find your amazing photos that you take on
thanks.
social media?
Yeah, thank you. So it's my first name and my last name.com is my website. So JaylynnNash.com. And then my Instagram is at photography_by_Jaylynn. And that's my Instagram. And then there is a TikTok. But I'm trying to, I like my TikTok, but you'll see a lot more on my Instagram. So
Thank you again, Jaylnn Nash, for your interview, and best of luck in your future as a sports photographer.
Thanks, Brandon. Same to you.
Thank you. You can find Brandon Sports Talk on Facebook at Brandon Sports Talk, Instagram at Brandon Sports Talk, Twitter at Talk_Brandon, and you can find me on YouTube at Brandon Sports Talk. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again, Jaylnn, for your interview, and best of luck.
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on social media and on YouTube.